Hey guys, this is the Triple D here. In today's video, we'll be discussing about the increment and decrement operators. So let's get started. We create a new source file. Since we're programming in the language of C, we select the extension type as .c and the file name incdc for increment decrement. You can give it any name. We save it. So we start writing the program by including the header files. So hashtag include stdio.h and hashtag include conio.h. Now this stdio.h is responsible for the scanf function and the printf function, that is for taking an input and giving an output. This conio.h is required since we are using the function clr_scr for clearing the screen. So we say enter void main open bracket close bracket enter open curly braces enter close curly braces. This will be our body. This will be what is going to be executed in the program. So we start by declaring a variable of type say integer. So we say int I and let's initialize it. Let's give it a value. Let's say is equal to 0 and every C statement terminates with a semicolon. So semicolon. Then we want to clear the screen. So we use the function clr_scr open bracket close bracket and a semicolon enter. Remember clr_scr is declared in conio.h, so do make sure to include it. Now we want to print the value of I, so we say print f open bracket close bracket semicolon and in between the brackets we use quotation marks, two of them, and the quotation marks we say %d and so printing an integer and we're saying I is equal to whatever the value here, and after the quotation marks we put a comma and we print the value of I. Now let's print it. First let's compile Alt and F9 and then run it. Control and F9. Oops, there should be a get ch here. It disappears immediately. Compile and run. I'm saying I is equal to 0. Now let's say we want to increase the value here of I by 1. So we say I is equal to I plus 1 semicolon, and now we compile it Alt and F9, Control and F9 to run it. It's showing I is equal to 1. So what it's doing here is taking the value of I, which is 0, and adding 1 to it, and then it's storing this value what is 0 plus 1 into I. So now instead of doing this, we can use an incrementary operator. So what are incrementary operators? Let me show you. Instead of saying I is equal to 1, I is equal to I plus 1, we can easily say I plus plus and a semicolon. This will do exactly the same thing as adding 1 to I. See, I was 0 became I plus 1, which is 0 plus 1, that is 1. Now if I had to say I plus plus and then say it again I plus plus, what would this do? See, compile and run it. I is equal to 2. So now what's happening here? Over here this is saying I is equal to 0. It's assigning the statement 0's value is going in I, and I plus plus, this simply means I is equal to I plus 1. So 0 plus 1 is equal to I. So the value of 0 plus 1 is 1 and that value is getting stored over here. So now I's latest value over here at this point is 1. Remember it. Now at this point, this is the next statement. Now I has stored the value of 1. So this statement also means I is equal to I plus 1. So I is equal to I plus 1. This is what it simply means. So if that can be also said as I is equal to the latest value of I now, which is 1 plus 1. So I is simply nothing but having the value of 2. So this is how it works. Now instead of doing this, we can also say plus plus I. Plus plus I. This would also give me the same output, but this is called as a pre-increment, and the one which plus plus is written after the variable, that's called a post increment. Increment simply means adding 1 to it. Okay, so now let's discuss it. Suppose we have an, let me erase all this. Suppose I have a variable I and it's initialized to 0, and I have another variable A which is uninitialized. Now if I say A is equal to I plus plus, now if I print the value of I and %d, I print the value of I and A, let's see what we get as the output. Compile and then run it. Now we get I is equal to 1 and A is equal to 0. Now what is happening here? Now in this post increment, something interesting happens. Over here, first the value of I goes in A, the value from this goes over here to this. So I is 0, so the value of 0 goes in A, and then whatever was I, that gets incremented, that gets added to plus 1 is added to it. So we get the value as I is equal to 1 and A is equal to 0. Now what if it was plus plus I? We would have got a different output. See, we compile it and then we run it. Now we get I is equal to 1 and A is equal to 1. So now what has happened? Now this is the pre-increment operator, since the plus plus is before the variable. In case the plus plus is after the variable, then it's called a post-increment operator. Now A is equal to plus plus I. Now in this situation, I plus plus I is first being calculated. So I is 0. So this statement simply means I is equal to I plus 1. So I was 0, so 0 plus 1 is 1, and the value is stored in A. So whenever we have a pre-increment operator, the operation is first done and then its value is assigned to the variable. Now let's talk about the decrement operators. Suppose I had A is equal to I minus minus, and remember, even the increment and decrement operators do have a semicolon. Now if I compile this and I run this, I'm getting I is equal to minus 1 and A is equal to 0. So what's happening here? In this situation, this is called a post decrement operator. Decrement means by subtracting 1, you can say, and it is post because this is after the variable. Now in this, the value of I, which is 0, is getting stored in A, and then I is getting decremented by 1. So over here, simply what is happening is the value of I, which is there, is going in A. So A is equal to I, which simply means that A is equal to 0. So at this point, A was equal to 0. Now this part gets executed, which says I is equal to I minus 1, which implies that I is equal to 0 minus 1, that is nothing but 0, also minus 1. So I is equal to minus 1. So that is how it works. Now what if this was A is equal to minus minus I? That means, what if the decrement operator was before the variable? So in such a case, this is called as a pre-decrement operator since it comes before the variable. So now what is happening here? Let's compile it. Alt and F9, semicolon, Alt and F9, and Control and F9 to compile it and run. Now a is equal to -1 and a is equal to -1 and I is equal to -1. Now what's happened here? Now over here a is equal to minus I. So whenever there's a pre-increment or pre-decrement operator, this operation will be carried down first and then its value will be assigned to the variable at the left hand side. So over here what is happening is it's saying it's doing this first, minus I, this is done first. So that implies that I is equal to I minus 1, and that simply implies that I is equal to 0 minus 1. That means I is equal to -1. Now this operation is carried down first and then this value is assigned to a. So in the next step what happens is the value of I, which is -1, gets stored in a. So a is equal to -1. So this is what is happening in case of a pre-increment operators. So we'll be discussing the pre-increment and post-increment operators, and we'll be using it in many of our applications. So do subscribe, like and share this video with your friends, family and whoever are interested in programming. Thanks a lot.